Okay. That finally working. Yes. Okay. Finally working. Maybe. Holy crap, is that delayed? Oh, wait a minute. There we go. That's better. Okay. Okay. So, um, had some issues getting this. Why is the camera face so far down? Oh my god, that's still bad. Oh my god. There we go. Okay. So, had a little bit of issues getting this stream going. Plan is we're working on the Apple III. We're gonna see what's going on with it. Finally, after all this time of me having it. No idea how far we're gonna get with that because it is in really rough shape and it sounds like there's something rattling around on the inside. So hopefully nothing's important broken. uh, yeah. Had some issues getting this stream going. Um, Technical issues, camera issues, uh, laptop issue for whatever reason. It just OBS like freaked out and didn't want to connect to anything. But hey, it's working now. That's the important thing. And yeah, as you can kind of see, what's here on my desk here is a little bit of a sneak peek of a video I've been working on. I'm actually still in the process of recording some stuff for this kind of surprising video. It has nothing to do with this video, clearly. Oh. Okay. So. All right, so one of these days, I'm going to get a live stream going where I actually already have what I'm working on either on the desk or behind me. I don't have to worry about cleaning things off my bench or anything like that. Is that delayed again? Yeah, it is. Don't know why. Okay. Okay. And a little bit of a side note. There. I have the Monitor 3 for the Apple III. I'm actually really happy that I picked this up. This is pretty neat because these monitors are more popular amongst Apple collectors than the Apple 3 is. Mainly because the Apple 3 is kind of sought after, and these monitors are you see them a lot in pictures with the Apple 2 and 2E just because they're a really good, stable, reliable monitor actually. But I have no idea. This thing does work. I know it does, but I have no idea if the Apple 3 works. And hopefully, if everything goes well by the end of, well, I don't know how many videos and live streams it's going to take to get that one working, but hopefully by the end of everything, that one will be working just fine. Hopefully. I don't know. Like I said, this whole thing is just All right, so for anybody who's joining in, this is out of shot. Dang it. Okay, maybe that's better. All right, so everybody joining in, this is the iconic failure that's the Apple III. Yeah, not really much I can say more about that. It was just a complete and epic, very expensive failure for Apple as well. I think this was, I don't remember if it was like $100 million or $10 million of R&D went into this thing, but it was just a complete colossal failure in the Apple lineup. I think I see what's going on. But I am making progress with my stream though. I'm not getting a warning for bitrate or anything like that, so hey, my network and stuff is cooperating. But why is that still? Okay. Anyway, yes, this is the Apple III. I picked this up in the Apple haul that woo, progress. Yeah, this thing I got in the Apple haul that I gotten over the past, well, basically calendar year now. I think this all started about August of last year around this time when I started picking up a bunch of Apple II stuff. This came from the former Apple technician, in which I got this, the Apple II Plus, the Apple II, the late or the very early Apple IIe, the bins of software, and I was really happy. I was really, I don't know how happy is not the word. I don't know the right word is because I never really intended to find an Apple III. These are kind of sought after by Apple collectors because, yes, they were a huge colossal failure, but at the same time, it's because they were a failure, didn't sell a lot of them, and there's a lot of the stuff that went into the R&D for the Apple III went into the Apple IIe, which once I start talking about the specs of this thing, you'll kind of see why. But yeah, it's a very amazing machine, basically an all-in-one machine. The main computing unit, the keyboard is all one unit. On the back, we've got integrated peripherals and still 4 expansion slots for this thing, which really opens up the possibilities for upgrade and expandability of the Apple III. Even though there really isn't technically a whole lot of expansion cards for this thing. There is a hard drive controller, which I do have, I just don't have the hard drive. There was a CPM Z80 card for it. There was a, I believe there was a, I think there was a parallel card, because it has serial, not parallel built in. So there's a lot of, there's not a whole lot in terms of hardware for this thing, and even software. But yes, the colossal expensive failure that was the Apple III. And in this video, or in this live stream, I'm sorry, I also record these things so I can cut them up later for videos. We're going to be cracking this thing open and getting started with the restoration. First off, by taking a look at the inside and making sure everything's at least okay. I have no idea. There is something rattling around in here. It was in the guy's attic for years, so I honestly have no idea what the story is with it. So hopefully nothing's broken off the main board that's going to make it impossible or difficult to repair. What did I just do with this? Okay, so the Apple 3. Why was this thing considered a failure? I mean, if I start describing the hardware that went into this thing, you'd think this thing should have been a slam dunk. So, little quick history with the Apple series. 1976, the Apple One was released, which was the brainchild of Steve Wozniak and Steve Jobs. I know there's going to be some Apple fans that's going to kind of argue semantics at that point about who designed what, but condensed version here. 1977, Apple released the Apple II alongside Commodore releasing its PET and Tandy Radio Shack releasing the TRS-80 Model 1, which became later known as basically the holy trinity of home computing. And then in 1979, they released the Apple II Plus, which was a kind of a stepping stone-ish of sorts when it comes to the Apple II line. If you compare the original Apple II to the Apple II Plus, the Apple II Plus had, it was more likely to come with the 16K language card to get it up to 64K. It had a better color killer circuit for use with composite monitors, so it wouldn't have that rainbow fringing effect at times. It had different firmware ROM. It made it a little bit better. But the thing was, as Apple, they were kind of thinking like a typical cliche business, which was, hey, we need to start focusing on replacing the Apple II with something, well, not only better, but more, something that could make us more money, basically. The Apple II was basically their big money maker, their only money maker, really. So they started putting a bunch of R&D into the Apple III here. And yeah, the Apple III had, and what's funny is I'm saying Apple III now. There was actually, when I was doing the script for, because it was really supposed to be a video, not a live stream. The script, actually, I kept calling it, when I was like voicing it out, I kept calling it the Apple II III, and that's not right. Anyway. The Apple III here, when during R&D, they wanted it to be basically the replacement for the Apple II line, especially in the business category. They wanted it to look professional, sleek. They wanted it to not look like it was kind of jumbled together. Like if you look at the Apple II and the II Plus, realistically, a lot of video and pictures back in the day, there really wasn't like no cohesiveness in terms of the design language. I mean, yeah, the disc 2 kind of resembled the Apple II, but there really wasn't a dedicated cassette drive for the Apple II. At the time, there was not a dedicated monitor, so a lot of people were using black and white CCTV composite security monitors. So nothing really like looked professional. Like at a home use, that was fine, but they wanted something professional looking. Hence the Apple III design. It all looks nice and professional. And for the hardware, they really threw some weird stuff in here. A little bit faster C5 or 6502 based CPU, 128 kilobyte of RAM, stock. I think those things could be upgraded to 256K, and I think even 512K if I remember correctly. Built-in 140K disk drive. You had composite black and white output, plus you had an RGB port on the back, plus built-in serial. You had a external floppy port. So this thing basically had a built-in floppy controller. It had built-in RGB card, which didn't really exist for the Apple II line, officially from Apple. The Apple II and II Plus was basically kind of maxed at 64K unless you had a bank switching RAM factor card. But for the most part, they were kind of limited by the 6502 to 64K. These could do 128K. Plus, you had integrated serial ports, which in order to do that for the Apple II, you had to install a card. Plus, it had 2 joystick ports, which kind of acted as rudimentary mice for these things. Which, to do that on the Apple II, you had a port for it, but it was just a really almost janky style dip socket. Well, this was all integrated into it, and as a result, it really made these things, on the hardware, on paper, amazing. But there was a lot of factors that led this thing to be a complete and colossal failure. There was the fact that the operating system was really interesting. They kind of went along the similar aspect to like Pascal with its file structure, which I have never used Pascal, but I've been seeing on some forums and stuff that Pascal, unless you were really familiar with it, It was kind of a challenge to work with, and this is kind of ProDOS is modeled a little bit after Pascal too. So you had that regard in terms of the operating system, and which jokingly they called it Apple Sauce. It was SOS, which stood for Sophisticated Operating System, or SOS, basically applesauce. Good job, Apple. Then from there was issues that they never really released, because in order to use any of the peripherals in here, you couldn't just plug in a card and just have it work. With the Apple II, you plug in a serial card, and a lot of program software just kind of expected to know what slot to look at. You put a disk controller, they kind of know what to look for. Video controllers like the 80-column cards and that kind of stuff, software knew where to look. The Apple III, not so much. If you any of the hardware that you put in here, you had to actually first boot up the machine, and then you had to take that floppy out and put in a utilities disk and have a list of drivers that you had to enable, and then write that to the boot disk so that when you booted it from that disk, it knew what hardware to look for. And unfortunately, Apple never really put out how to really utilize the driver aspect. I mean, there's books of how to write the drivers and stuff now, and stuff that is out there available now, I guess. But back then, they really never said how to use the driver system or how to write specific drivers. So there was really not a whole lot of development in terms of expansion cards for these. And also, in regards to that, the other reason why these things failed was software. There's not a whole lot of software for the Apple III. There's maybe a couple dozen pieces of software out there. Usually it was stuff that came bundled with it. Spreadsheet stuff, document stuff, text editors, and that kind of stuff. There really wasn't a whole lot of software third party for these things because there really wasn't much development for it. There really wasn't the ability to. Apple kind of locked down the ability to make software for this, which also led to there not being many games. And I know for a business machine, you're thinking, well, it's for business. There shouldn't be a gaming market for it. Well, look at the IBM PCs. The original 5150, 60, and 70 were business machines, first and foremost. That's what they were. But the fact of the matter is that any of the clones of the IBM PCs that couldn't run games faltered and fell. So the gaming market, there was almost nothing for the Apple IIIs. And then one of the other problems that caused these things to fail was the ludicrously high price. I don't have my script with me. Like I said, I originally intended this to be a video, not a live stream. But these things sold for like, what was it, $3,000 or $4,000 in the early '80s, which just kind of put them out of the reach of a lot of people. Plus the fact that these things were not backwards compatible with the Apple II existing Apple II software. That's the other thing. Apple really did not want this to be backwards compatible with the Apple II. They actually corporate fought tooth and nail to not have these things be compatible because they wanted people to buy software for the Apple III. They wanted to make them, they wanted to make money selling software for Apple III. So why would we want our new product to use old software? Well, there was an Apple II emulator for this, and I don't even think it's an emulator. It's more of a virtual machine, kinda, sorta. That basically it emulates a base Apple II, 48K. It uses the internal drive as disk 1, and then it downclocks the 6502 here to match the original 6502 in the Apple II. So basically, it doesn't have access to the extra RAM or the RGB color or the even the joystick ports. I don't remember if it had support for that. And yeah, so it had some support for Apple II software, but you consider the fact that you had to load an Apple II emulator, which I do have some floppies for this thing that came with everything. You had to load the operating system, you had to load the Apple II emulator, and then you could load Apple II software, but only for the original Apple II and II Plus, so it was only limited to 48K, so gaming or productivity software, it wasn't very useful in that regard. Apple really went out of their way to over-engineer this thing. And then the final nail in the coffin, if the software incompatibility wasn't a thing, if the price wasn't an issue, if the weird way of, almost impossible way to develop hardware and software for it wasn't the issue. It was also the hardware design that was the issue. Steve Jobs insisted that a business machine of this caliber, this professionalism, be silent. There is no active cooling in here. This giant, well, actually, if you can believe it, this entire chassis is made of aluminum, basically one solid chunk, and all these fins in the back. This giant thing is a huge heat sink. It was supposed to use convection cooling to pull heat off the internal components and keep it cool, which unfortunately, as you can imagine, did not work. The constant heating up in here would actually cause the motherboard to warp a little bit and pop chips and the RAM expansion board and all that kind of stuff off the board, and it would lock up the machine. And there was actually an Apple certified from engineers of how to fix the problem was to literally pick this thing up and drop it to force the RAM card and the chips back into their sockets while it was still warm, and it would come back to life and work a little bit. So obviously, design problems, hardware, software development problems, pricing problems, no backwards compatibility with existing software, which during this time was a killer because there was thousands, tens of thousands of software titles for the Apple II that was already in businesses and schools and homes. Why would you make a computer that was not compatible? And this comes to the topic of this live stream for anyone who is now joining. We're going to be cracking this thing open and seeing what's all on the inside and then going from there. I don't know if we're going to get to throwing any power tests in this live stream. I don't know if we're going to get to how much we're going to be doing with it because besides, you know, taking it apart and seeing what all could be wrong with it. Like I said, there's something rattling around in here. It was up in this guy's attic for, I want to say 40 years, at least. If not, you know, because it's actually, I just don't know how long he said he was in his attic. He kind of forgot he had it. That's why he was kind of surprised when he brought it down. But, yeah, when I release the video part of this, you'll see like just how dirty this thing is. The keys are extremely nasty. The logo here is rough. So, like I said, we're basically going to be taking this thing apart, taking the power supply out at the very least, and removing the reefer caps, and then testing the power supply, seeing what's all rattling around in here, and see how far we can go with this in this live stream. My goal is by the end of, well, at least videos and live streams, I guess. I don't know how many it's going to take. I want to see this thing running some software. So, let's get cracking this thing open. Move my camera. Okay. Okay. All right. So, I actually had to look up how to take one of these things apart. And honestly, it comes apart really easy, apparently. Oh, geez, yeah. There's something rattling around in here. But basically, it's just two flathead screws, and they're quick cam screws. Oh, that one's already loose. Okay. And the top just kind of, well, maybe, there we go. just kind of comes off. Yeah, this thing's in pretty rough shape. Luckily, this thing's plastic, so I should be able to get it retro-breaded. You can kind of, let me turn this light off real quick. You can kind of see how kind of dirty and nasty that is. You can kind of see the logos peeling off a little bit. Okay. All right, so I'll turn that light back on. I don't see what's rattling around, but I do see the main board. And then we have the built-in 140K drive here, which is the internal mechanism is identical to the I can't get it right now. But it's identical to the almost identical to the internal mechanism of the one that's in the Apple Disk 2 drive for the 2 and 2E. It just has a different analog board up top, which this one says Disk 3 analog card, and the one on the Disk 2 says Disk 2 analog card. We have the speaker here, which is it's hot glued in. 4 expansion slots, which are identical to the one that's in the Apple II line. And funnily enough, there actually is some Apple II cards which will work in the Apple III here. There was the Super Serial card will work in here. I believe the parallel interface card for printers will work in here, and I want to say there was a third one, but I can't remember off the top of my head. All right, so I don't see what's rattling around yet. Oh, yeah, you do. There's a quarter rolling around in here. Oh, that's awesome. That's actually a bit of irony. It's the bicentennial quarter. The 1776 to 1976. That's funny. Oh, that's awesome. I'm going to put that in my pocket. Cool. I made 25 cents on this. That's the most I've made in any of my videos. Just because I'm not monetized. And side tangent with that, probably never will be the way that YouTube's going. Okay, let's take the power supply out first. Well, I don't know if I want to take the power supply out first or if I want to... Yeah, let's get the power supply dealt with first. Yeah, a quarter. There is a quarter rattling around in here. Nothing else is rattling, so had to be that. Oh, so for anyone who likes to mess with Apple II stuff here, or Apple III stuff, this is serial number A3S2-102932. So not a low serial number, especially considering they didn't sell many of these. But this is a 128K model. Awesome. I see a bunch of... A lot of these screws look like they're kind of stripped. But that's okay. The reason why I kind of assumed that was because, again, this was owned by a former technician. And... Ooh. And he doesn't remember if this is the one or not, but he remembers they were doing some testing to get these things up to 512K, which there was a 512K version of, or upgrade for the Apple III. And he doesn't remember if this is one that they were experimenting with getting it up to 512K, or if this was one that wouldn't go up to 512K. Anyways, I know this is the power supply section because I literally just watched another YouTuber, Tech Tangents. He was restoring one of these. His was in a lot better shape though. His was like his just worked. And I will be on. Oh, I will be honest. I do not think. Ooh, some of these screws seem stripped out. Okay. Okay. All right. And yeah, there's the Apple III power supply. And honestly, it's in pretty good shape. Ooh, I do see, though, that reefer cap is about to blow, and so is that one. Well, yeah, they're cracked pretty bad. One right there, one right there. Okay, so now let's see if we can get the main board out. Ooh. Some of these screws are not wanting to come out. Yeah, some of these feel like they're like the screws are yeah. Or it might be the holes that are stripped, which is just as concerning. I mean, I guess I could just go to the hardware store, find the right or better screws, and just retap them. Man, some of these are just. Some of these I don't even feel like they're the right screw because some of them just pop right out. Like that one just kind of popped out. Yeah, that one's. There we go. I mean, again, I'm not too surprised. I mean, this thing was probably opened up like 1.5 billion times. Okay, that should be the last screw. Okay, let's unplug the keyboard cable and the floppy drive cable, speaker, and that's a huge motherboard. Oh my gosh. Especially compared to the Apple IIs. Oh, this is the, oh, awesome. So this is the Apple III's memory board, and this is the 5-volt memory board. There's two versions of these boards, and the one that's the quote bad one is the 12-volt one because it gets too hot and it will actually pop up from the board. This one is not. So how much RAM is actually on this board? These are all 164. Okay, so these are all 64K chips. So that should be 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16. 32. That'd be 32 chips of 64K. That's 256K? So this is a 256K RAM board? Or wait, no. Or would that be... Or would this... Wait. Actually, I don't know how much RAM is here. The board's actually really dirty and dusty. I don't see anything that sticks out to me as being bad. All the caps look like they're good. The cleanest chips are ironically the one that was underneath the keyboard. Everything looks intact. We have the 6502 processor, ROM chip, keyboard ROM. Yeah, so everything seems to be good here. Oh, I lied. There was two things rattling around in here. There's a nickel. Again, from 1976. Well, I mean, I guess technically this was built in the early 80s. So cool, I made 30 cents on this video. Most I'm going to make in a video in a long time. Okay. So, while I'm here, let's remove... Actually, I don't know how much stuff I want to remove from this, actually. Yeah, I found Philip! Thank you to every millennial that catches that reference, by the way. Alright, I'm going to remove these caps off this power supply, just to be for my own mentality here. Who put a flippin' screw underneath a transformer? Oops. And yes, I'm just removing these Rifa caps. I'm not going to be replacing them right this second, just because of the fact that I just want to make sure this power supply is going to just work. Brown and blue. All right. And there's the power supply board. With this is interesting. A lot of the traces on here are kind of squared off like they were CAD designed, but most of them are all hand drawn. And yeah, there's no leaking or bulging caps. They have those really pretty orange caps that were in the couple of the power supplies I took apart on a live stream on TikTok a couple weeks ago. All right, let's see how far we can get tonight. I don't even know what time it is. Almost 9. Cool. Been doing this for, well, should have been doing this since 7:30, but things did not work out. Desoldering iron. Get that going. While we're at it, we're going to pull out the floppy drive. I mean, I might as well just take the whole thing apart. I mean, it needs fully restored anyway. Okay. Yeah, and there's the Apple III power supply. Or power, floppy drive. Uh, really, really interesting drive mechanism, actually. Oh, the belt's intact. Yeah, and this has got a really weird seek mechanism for the read-write head. Um, it's got that spiral disc, just like a disc 2 drive, which is just really interesting to me that they did it that way. Okay, so we have the floppy drive out. Let's get the keyboard out while that soldering iron is heating up. And that should just come out with these 4 screws, which again, they look like they've been they look a little bit like they've been taken out a few times. But, you know, the fact that this thing doesn't even have an Apple III at all is astonishing. Mainly because, again, I never really anticipated finding one. I really wasn't looking for an Apple III. But now that I did find one, I'm actually pretty ecstatic. And none of the screws are the same in this thing. Yeah, it's just kind of weird. Okay. And yeah, the keyboard's not really all that different from the Apple IIe keyboard. Realistically, it's a little different, but not too different. It does have a numpad though, and a reset switch, which is in a really stupid spot. Oh my god. I'm really not sure how to clean this chassis here, because it's all kind of kind of a rough texture. I don't know how to do it without accidentally stripping the finish off, which is the last thing I want to do. Alright, so quick for anyone who is now joining in, as you can see, I've got a Apple III torn apart. That's because we are, well, in this live stream, we're just tearing it apart mainly to get things ready to start restoring it, cleaning the keys, do that for a video. But the main thing what I want to do today is just see how far we can get with this thing. It was sitting in an attic for, God, 40 years, 35, 40 years. So at the very least, we're going to be pulling the reefer caps off of the power supply, checking voltages, and if I see good voltages, we might power up the main board and just see if there's any life in this thing. I don't know if there will be, because these Apple IIIs are notorious, good lord, for being unreliable. And to compound this issue, of them being unreliable. This particular one was owned by a former Apple technician, and all these screws are kind of mismatched, and they're like the heads are like kind of stripped and rounded off in some of them, and it's been kind of fun getting some of these screws out. And there we go, the Apple III keyboard, which hopefully this one works. Because I do not have a spare one of these PCBs or keyboards. I do have plenty of spare Apple IIs, but not Apple IIIs. So, I don't know. That's a good feeling keyboard. It's weird. It's like a cross between the Apple II Plus's keyboard and that early 2E that I picked up from the same gentleman, ironically. The Alpha Lock key is sticky. Might need to replace that spring. And all these stocks are really skinny, fragile looking. Okay, so soldering iron should be heated up. Let's get these reefer caps out and then see what kind of voltages we got. And I'm not going to be recapping this power supply. It is in really good shape. None of the caps are bad. The only two I'm removing are these two. Well, actually, I think it's just this one reefer cap, I believe. Where's this one? Yeah, I think it's just this. Well, actually, it might just be this one reefer cap that need to be undone. So we'll just do this one for right now. And then it should be. I think it's this one. I know I don't have sophisticated soldering or desoldering tools because that stuff is pretty pricey. Suggestions. Why am I getting a warning now of all times? Come on. It's just one pin. Doesn't want to come off. Okay. And there we go. The one bad Reefa cap. I don't know if this second one is actually a Reefa cap or not. I mean, it is a Reefa brand, but usually the ones that need to worry about are the ones that are the line filters. And this one, I don't think is a line filter. So now that we got that de-reefed, let's see if the powers and grounds are good. Set that aside so there's no fires. Dang it. Okay. I should. Do I have a power cord? Just free and available? I do. Actually, I kind of just realized I don't know if this thing will actually power up without a load on it. Hopefully that's not the case. But if it is, we will address that when we get to it. Okay, so Apple III power supply is de-reefed. I think fully de-reefed. Again, there's one Reefa cap on here that is a line filter, and those were the problematic ones. I don't think I've ever seen the Reefa caps that are actually tied to like a ground strap that was prone for failure. But again, I I don't want to say that with confidence because I probably am going to be wrong there. I'm just going off what I personally am recalling. Which, if you do own an Apple series, or I guess any computer that has a line filter Reefa cap, just remove it. Unless you read up somewhere that's necessary. It's really not necessary in a lot of applications if it's just used as a line filter, because that was really for the back in the days when there was a lot of analog stuff, ham radios, and the such. And the thing is, I don't have a ham radio. I don't have a lot of analog video equipment. So I'm really not too concerned about having a Reefa cap in here. Okay. Let's plug in the power. And I guess hit the switch, maybe, and see what happens. Well, obviously I'm not going to hear nothing. So we do have voltage right now. Let's just see if we have good voltage. Nine and 4. That's a little low. That's a little low. But again, there's no load on it, so let's throw a load at it. And let's just power up the main board. Okay. Well, crap, that's covered. I can't really test for voltages right there, can I? But, you know what? I have an idea. Let's just hook up the Apple Monitor 3 to the composite port and see if I've got any any life. I mean, it's probably not gonna do anything because it's missing keyboard and disk drive, but doesn't hurt to try. Right? Right. Good talk. Okay. How long have I been streaming? About an hour. I think I'm going to cut this off at the 1.5 hour mark, and then either pick this up later if nothing works right, or go from there. Composite cable. These are important. All right, let's see if this thing's got any form of life to it. Oh! It just goes straight to a diagnostic. I'm getting all green, or not all green, that's a bad way to say it. I'm getting all goods on the RAM. Would this thing just boot up? Does this thing just work? No way. No freaking way. But yeah, that's showing that's just... Okay. Well, let's, I mean, this floppy drive isn't gonna... I mean, there's no way that this is just gonna, you know, boot something. But you know what? I say, why not just see if everything just works. Retry. Okay. Retry what? I need a boot floppy. Do I even have a boot floppy? I don't know. I have software, but I don't know if it's actually boot floppy stuff. Oh, this is stupid. This is stupid. Okay. Okay. I do have some Apple III stuff that I kind of, when I was organizing all the floppies that came with this, utility system demonstration to... Okay, but I do have some Apple III stuff. So let's just see if one of these boots. I mean, I don't even know if the floppy drive works. I just know it's banging around. Ooh. Oh, that sounds awful. That feels awful too. Okay. Okay. Move that out of the way again. Retry. Okay, so well, then I don't know if these floppies are good either. This thing's just working. Like, really? Okay. Move that stuff out of the way. I mean, I guess for all I know, this floppy drive or the floppy disk could be bad. I don't know, but this thing's just, it works. I mean, really, all I did was remove the reefa cap. Okay. Yeah, I've still got about what, 20? I still got about 20 minutes before I decide to end this. So let's just keep going. This is fun. Okay. Oh, that screwdriver too big. Yeah. So for anyone who's who's just now joining in, surprisingly, this thing works. The floppy drive is not one to read, so I don't know if it's a bad disk or a bad drive, but check it out. Retry. That means that most of the system's working. And if I unplug the keyboard, it goes to self-diagnostics and everything's good. Oh. Oh, this is awesome. I definitely need to cut this video down into a video, or live stream into a video. Okay. Get the analog board off. Okay, so floppy disk. And you know what? That read head does look pretty bad. I mean, this whole drive just feels disgusting, but let's do some cleaning on this thing. See if we can get it to work. This is actually really cool. I did not expect. I did not expect this to just work. I mean, the thing is, I could just be wasting my time with this floppy drive. It could just be completely dead. But we're just going to see if a good scrubbing, good cleaning does something. I don't know. So for anyone who's just now joining in, I've been tinkering with this Apple III here, and basically I'm just trying to see how far we can get with it in this live stream, which is going to be going on for the next 20 minutes. And in a fit of surprise, I removed the reefa cap, and if you're kind of curious how dirty this thing was and how nasty this thing was, I'll be releasing this as a video later. But check it out. Retry. That means this thing's mostly working. And when I had the keyboard unplugged, it goes into a self-diagnostic loop. And everything's, well, self-diagnostic wise saying it's good. The only thing that it won't work is floppy drive don't want to boot to anything, which could either be a bad floppy, because I do have some Apple III floppies that came with all this stuff, or it's the floppy drive, and I'm just giving it a quick go over, clean the head real quick, and lubing the rails with some stuff real quick, just to see if I can get this thing to boot something. Oh my god, I'm actually like really excited about this. I really hope that that's what this is. That it's just a dirty floppy drive. Because if this thing fully works, this is gonna be like just stupidly impressive that an Apple III just works. Like it's gonna be so stupidly awesome. And honestly, I'll probably go have to buy a lottery ticket because that's just doesn't happen. Okay. Get this drive serviced and well, a quick service anyway. I'm not even giving a full service right now. I just want to see if I can get this thing to boot something. Like I'm, it's working, so I might as well try it, right? Okay. So we've got the read write head cleaned off. We've got it partially serviced, moved up a little bit. Shut power off before I forget. Plug the read head back in. Okay. So yeah, this is this is really surprising to me because these Apple IIIs are notorious for being just like unreliable in terms of like in the broad history of Apple products. Like you're more likely to find a I'm not even sure a good analogy for this. I guess you're more likely to find a working iMac G3's optical drive than you are a Apple III or working Apple III. Okay, try this again. One service drive, one hopefully working floppy disk. Oh, that feels so much better to use that. All right. Well, that ain't good. Retry. Dang it. Okay, well, that's not just... Is that even spinning? Yeah, okay, it's spinning. Okay, so that is double-sided. Let's just flip it over, see if it does anything. Instant retry. Okay, so let's just pretend that this disc might be bad. I don't know yet. Let's see if the systems test disk will work. I guess if we're going to try an Apple III, might as well try out the diagnostic disc. Retry. Okay. So So far, that's two for being bad floppies. Well, this might not be good. Man, I hope that disk drive is not completely dead. What's this one? Well, this one's an Apple II emulation, so let's try this one. Man, it's just clicking and banging. Oh, man. Okay. Welp, I made more progress tonight than I was going to with this thing, but at the same time, am I really going to be dead in the water with a bad floppy drive? Okay. So, okay, maybe, I don't know what to do. Okay. Man, I just don't know what. I'm not disappointed that the floppy drive or floppy disks are not working. It's just like, is this gonna be my stopping point? Is a bad drive? God, I don't want this to be the reason why I have to stop. This is, man, that hard locked it. Retry. Yeah, that's just whatever's on this utility disk just locks this thing up. It did. It just stopped it dead. Oh, duh. Yeah, okay. So whatever's on this utilities disk basically just stops this drive dead in its tracks. So let's not use this one anymore, just because I don't know what's going on with that. What about, let's try the systems test again. I'm trying to watch to see if I can see what's causing it. Oh! Maybe? It just... Mm. Is that read head moving? That read head's not moving though. Okay, but it did start reading something. So, is that disk or is that drive? I do not know. I really do not know. It does start to read it. IO error. Okay. So now we have now we have a new fault. What if we IO error? Okay, now we're getting a new issue, which is not great, but that does mean that something's reading. Okay. Thing is, I don't have my grease weasel and stuff set up, so I really can't write any floppies. But I guess since I am getting at least progress, maybe that means that. No, maybe not. I don't know. Like I'm hoping. Ooh. Yes! Interpreter file not found. Dang it! Dang it. Oh. But Apple III Sauce 1.1, February 1982. Interpreter not found. Why is that a thing? See if I can get that to do it again. Like if I get it consistently, that's. Okay, interpreter file not found. Okay, so this is good. That means the floppy drive is working. It's just I'm having a disk issue. I'll take that. Yes. Oh, what time is it? I got like 10 minutes. It's just. Okay. So, just try all the ones I think are for the Apple III. Okay. I forgot. That's the one that locks it up. But okay, that one gives me an IO error. This one doesn't do anything. Or this one. Ooh, that one doesn't. That one just likes. Oh. This one just kind of. This one just stops the spindle motor completely. Like it just hard locks. Like not even software locks it, just hardware locks it. Okay, so. Well. I guess. All right. So I need to make some floppies for this thing later, not right now. Oh my god. Oh, awesome. So I'm gonna have to end this here because I'm actually stopped, not from a hardware problem, surprisingly, with this thing. I, I'm stuck with a software issue. Um, I don't have. I mean, I guess I have a bunch of floppies I could go through to see if there's any more Apple III stuff. This was just stuff that I saw that was specifically saying Apple III. For all I know, this guy mixed all this stuff up with the Apple II stuff, but this is awesome. This thing just worked. It just works. It's not supposed to just work. I mean, I'm happy. I'm happy it just works. I'm not complaining about it. I don't want nothing to go wrong, but this is holy crap. This is awesome. I can't wait to cut this thing up and do a video. Um, anyway, yes. For anyone who's been watching so far, I'm gonna be ending the stream here in a few minutes. Um, this this has been a really surprising video. I really was not expecting this thing to just, I guess, just work. I really wasn't. I was expecting there to be RAM issues or chip issues. I was expecting those two coins to have rattled around in here and broke something off, but no, it just worked. Awesome. I de-refit the cap. I de-refit capped the power supply, so now it should be more stable and not prone to blowing that cap because now it doesn't have one. The keyboard is, well, I think it's working, but the machine is, if I unplug the keyboard, it'll run a self-diagnostic. Yep. And it tests out just fine. Oh, this is this is just unreal. Anyway, yes, the Apple III here surprisingly just works. Minus the floppy drive here. Once I got it, it didn't want to do anything, but once I got it cleaned up, lubed up as well as I could for right now, just see if I can get any life out of everything. It does try to read something. Unfortunately, all of the software that I have that's specific for the Apple III that came with this thing, and it's not much. It's system demonstration, utilities data, utilities, Apple II emulator, systems test, and another copy of the utility disk. Yeah, it just basically nothing wants to read correctly. One of them does start to read, and it does go to the applesauce boot prompt, which is good. That means that majority of the system, 90%, 99% of the system, is working. It just needs cleaned. So that's what we're going. That's what I'm gonna be doing. For the video, I'm gonna be ending the live stream here because this has been going on for about an hour and a half, and I gotta really start with it, so I need to get some other stuff done upstairs. So thank you all for joining this live stream. I am really happy that this thing just works. I can't wait to cut this video up into, or to stream up into a video and post it, because this is just this is awesome. Yeah, from here I'm going to be fully tearing apart the disk drive, tearing apart the keyboard, start getting it cleaned, take all the plastics and get them cleaned, and then retro write so that it matches the monitor a little bit better. And then the next live stream is going to be, well, involving the Apple III anyway, is going to be me reassembling this thing and getting it presentable and next to the Apple IIe. The next live stream total, which is going to be next Wednesday, is going to be on the early Apple IIe. That one I have, well, actually I had no indication this thing was going to run, and that one ran just fine, so who knows. Oh, with that being said, thank you all so much for watching this stream and putting up with me while I was trying to get this thing to work, which it does just work. I can't wait to get this thing all cleaned up and shining and looking good and nearly brand as I can anyway. The top casing does have a bunch of scuffs and scratches, and the emblem is a little messed up, but nothing that it's cosmetic. Hopefully when I get everything cleaned up and stuff, I get this thing put back together, it can be made to fully work. I am going to go and grab Not right now, obviously, but I will be using my Grease Weasel to be making, remaking the Apple III software floppies, and so we can try this thing out and use some of the software that would really showcase this thing being used. And earlier in the live stream, I mentioned some of the hardware in this thing, the built-in 80 column support, the built-in RGB, the built-in serial ports, and all that kind of stuff, the 128K base RAM. Uh, a lot of the stuff that went into the R&D for the Apple III here went basically into the Apple IIe. Once Apple saw that the Apple III was basically failing and not selling well and not being the hot seller they thought it was going to be to replace the Apple II Plus, a lot of the R&D from this went into the IIe. The 80 column 64K upgrade board that bumped it up to 128K and gave it 80 column support. Some of the more built-in peripherals, like the built-in joystick port and some of the other hardware stuff, it made its way into the Apple IIe. So parts of this thing did live on. It's just this thing was a complete failure, and that's kind of why I'm surprised this one is just working with just pulling the reefer cap out of this power supply. But anyway, like I said, thank you all so much for watching this stream. I really hope you enjoyed it. Like I said, the next time you see this thing is going to be, well, I'm going to be releasing this stream as a video. I'm going to cut it down and cut some stuff out. The next time you actually see this thing, me working on it, is going to be in a secondary video or maybe a second live stream here in the next few weeks where I write some software floppies and see if we can fully get this thing fully working. Hopefully by then I'll have the bits and pieces retro-brighted, cleaned, scrubbed, the board cleaned and scrubbed, and get this thing all the way put back together and seeing it fully running programs and software, because as you can see, it's running a diagnostic loop and everything's checking out green. This is awesome. And I was not expecting this thing to just work. And yeah, I've been fighting this thing with the floppy drive for a little bit, and I am convinced now I have dead floppies. I sound like a broken record, but I've seen some more people pop in towards the end of the stream, so the stream is going to be in a few minutes. So just as a recap here, this very disgusting and I thought dead Apple III is working with me just removing the reefer cap out of the power supply. I was just doing that as a preventive maintenance thing, and then voltages seemed good, so threw power at it, and it's working. And the only thing that's not working is the floppy drive. It is not reading these floppies. It reads one, and it boots it a little bit, but then it says it's missing an interpreter, and then one just hard locks the machine, and then other ones just headbang it. So, yeah, I really can't test the keyboard out until I get this thing booting software. I can't test the keyboard at all. In fact, I don't think there's any way to actually get into any formal way of testing this keyboard. So, yeah. Next stream involving this thing is going to be me getting this thing put back together and fully working and looking good. The next stream next Wednesday at around 6:30, the normal time. Today was just a fluke with me starting it late with technical issues. It's going to be the early Apple IIe, so I will give a little bit more heads up for that one. And well, hope you all enjoyed this stream, and thanks for watching. I really had a lot of fun with this one. So, again, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. This is awesome.